Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about, is Overwatch 2 fun? Now I know that's kind of a difficult question to answer because for the most part that's a very subjective question, a very subjective, uh, many subjective answers could be given. So I'm trying to look at it from a more broad, general standpoint where maybe, the majority of people would agree with me because I'm not being super specific. I'm not being like, super opinionated about it, even though it's kind of difficult to not have a personal opinion about it. Um, so I'm also going to be looking at it from sort of an Overwatch 1 standpoint because a lot of people, what they find fun in Overwatch 1 is kind of like the base point of what I'm using to say Overwatch 2 is fun or that it's not. So we're going to be looking at all the three different categories of heroes to play. By that I mean the roles: healer, DPS, and tank. And I'm going to kind of give you the caveats of why maybe it's not so fun and also why it is fun. Again, in my opinion, but I'm trying to keep it as less my opinion and more generalized as I can. So right now we have tank. I'm showing off some tank gameplay. This is Junker Queen, the new tank that was introduced in the last beta. And the thing with tanks is, first of all, that's the one that they got rid of, right? So now there's only one tank and there's no longer two tanks. So being a solo tank, there's a lot of pressure on you. And when you die, more often than not, your team will fail. And there's a lot of pressure on you. And some people might actually really enjoy that because, yes, you have more carry potential. You're not worried about your second tank goofing off, feeding, and just doing whatever. It's solely on you. So a lot of people might like that. And in my opinion, I did really enjoy that. I really enjoyed having that solo kind of this is all me type feel, because when things moved and when we moved and when we did things as a team, it felt a lot more like that was solely on me. And even though there's more pressure, I guess it's more pressure but also more reward. Most of the tanks in Overwatch 2 right now, I know this is bound to change. It's just a beta. Even when it releases in October, it's still going to be beta. Most of them feel really underworked. And you could say that about healers too, is that they really feel underworked. I mean, Hog is kind of just Hog still, but now you only have one tank, so it's kind of like, okay. Winston's pretty good. Junker Queen's pretty good. I love Orisa. And you could talk about the balances and all that, but I'm not too worried about the balancing right now because, again, it's beta. I'm more interested in how it feels. How does it feel to play these characters? And I gotta be honest, Junker Queen is just amazing to play. I love playing Junker Queen. Orisa's fun to play as well. Even solo Zarya is actually surprisingly good in a 5v5 setting. So I really do like the way that tanks feel, and I think playing tank is indeed fun. More fun than Overwatch 2 because, again, even though there's more pressure on you, it's less why is this other random guy failing me or failing the team, and more I can change, I can do things differently, and I can, be better and carry the team. So next we got DPS. And DPS is a lot of fun in Overwatch 2, way more fun than Overwatch 1. Why? Because you're not shooting barriers. You're not getting stunned every time you hit Q. I mean, those two things alone should tell you that it's a lot of fun. I mean, you see me playing Sojourn, the new character, as I fall off the map. That's my bad. And it's just a lot of fun to play DPS in Overwatch 2. The less stuns, the less barriers, and because there's one less tank means that there's less tanks are notorious for taking a lot of damage. That's kind of what they're supposed to do, and because of that they get a lot of heals. But now that there's one less tank, the healers can more easily prioritize DPS, and so there's more healing for DPS as well. I mean, there's literally everything good about DPS that could have happened pretty much happened so far in Overwatch 2. Some of them feel a little weak. I'm not talking about specific heroes here, but the overall feel is that it's really great that I'm not shooting a barrier the whole time. I'm actually getting healed for the most part, and that there's less stuns, so when I hit Q, I can actually, kill people, right? With the one caveat is that there's longer alt charge. I mean, this goes for all the roles, that there's longer alt charge, but that also feels great, even though because there's less alts being used, it feels like you have to use them more significantly. They're not throwaway alts anymore. They're not just, they're, you hit Q, nothing happens. Oh, well, I get another one really quick, and then that feels great. Another thing is that you get to keep some of your alt charge. That's the DPS passive role that they introduced after they got rid of the speed passive. You keep up to 30% of your alt charge, and that feels okay, I guess. It's alright. I mean, it is what it is. I don't really switch a whole lot, so I didn't really notice it or care about it, but it is nice to have, I'll say that. So next we got healer, the final role. And healers are in a really weird spot in the beta right now. Again, this is beta, things are subject to change. But part of me feels like they just don't know what to do with healers. Most of the healers. Zen feels really good. Moira, her new ability with the enfeeble orb, kind of stupidly overpowered. That could be debated whether people like it or not. I know a lot of support mains really like it because now Moira can actually make plays that actually really help the team, Before, when she had just Coalescence, it didn't feel like a whole lot, but now she has, albeit kind of an ultimate level ability on a cooldown, even if it is 16 seconds. It still feels a little overpowered, but it could be worked. But I'm not here to talk about balance. Moira does feel in a weird place. Mercy kind of feels in a weird place too, because she just got her new mobility with the super jump charge meter thing, and it's interesting, but a lot of them just feel like they're so weak. I mean, they're easy to be flanked. I mean, if the enemy has a tracer, one of the DPS or the tank needs to always be watching the healers, because now you can't just switch to Brigitte and deal with tracer. Now, I'm glad they got rid of Brigitte stun, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it does feel kind of like, okay, how are the healers going to respond to flankers if their team perhaps isn't helping them out so much, right? And it doesn't seem to be much of an answer. Zen got his super kick, that's really nice. Moira has her fade ability. Bap has his gun. Ana has sleep. But there's still so much that it's kind of like, because once you use sleep, it's on a 12-second cooldown or whatever it is now. I'm not really sure. Then you're open to be flanked again for that long. Or if you use fade, then you're open to be flanked for 9 seconds. I think it's 9 seconds now, or 8. I mean, it just feels like it's way too easy to be flanked. Another thing is a lot of the healers, they can't heal as much because there used to be 2 tanks. Again, it comes back to the tanks. There used to be 2 tanks, and now there's only 1. And so you can't heal both tanks that are just taking this massive amount of damage and get your ult charge really fast. And so it feels even longer for healers to get their ult than ever before. Even more so than a tank or DPS. Even though that's not exactly true, I think healers tend to get their ults faster. But it just feels it's kind of a weird place, and I don't really know if Blizzard knows what they're doing with healer. Is it fun? Yes, it is, unless they go dive and flanks, and then you're just kind of stuck asking your team for help, and they're probably not gonna help. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, if you're up there, I mean, I'm plat on Overwatch 1, so I don't know if that kind of carries over, and they're queuing me up with other plats in Overwatch 2. Um, but they're just not helping me. I just died a lot. This is why I switched to Zen here, because at least then I could kind of defend myself a little bit. Um, but there is also, again, more damage opportunity as people like Zen or Bap or even Ana, because there's less shields and less stun, and it does feel good that they don't have that in there. You're not getting flanked by a McCree, stunned, fanned, and then he moves on. You respawn, you get stunned, fanned, and you know. So it does feel good. Again, the lack of shields and the lack of stuns. I mean, there are still stuns in the game, but it does add to the general feel of the game that it does feel good. So the overall feel of Overwatch 2 is that it does feel like it's moving in a good direction. I don't think it's moving there very fast. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because I feel like if Blizzard were to just introduce a bunch of changes, I don't know how I'd feel about that. That it would probably end up being really poorly done. But it does feel good. It does feel like we're moving in a good direction. And Overwatch 2 does feel more or less fun than Overwatch 1. I know that's a terrible answer. Is Overwatch 2 more fun than Overwatch 1? It kind of depends. And I say that because, one, there's no competitive right now, and that's totally fine. I get that. It's beta. It's not even, it's like a beta to the beta, if I'm being honest. And so, I mean, I'm a competitive guy. That's pretty much solely what I play. And also, it feels less fun because a lot of the characters feel underworked. You can't just choose, hey, I'm going to play this guy. Okay, but right now he's really weak. Why would you want to play him? You're going to get stomped on. Okay. Or, you know, characters are constantly changing. Okay, now I got to get used to this Moira. That's not fun, you know what I mean? But it comes with the game, and as you get used to it, I think it'll become more fun. So overall, I do think Overwatch 2 is more fun than Overwatch 1. In fact, going back to Overwatch 1, it just feels slow, and it feels kind of pointless because I end up shooting double shields the whole game if I play DPS. If I play healer, I just feel like a healing bot, and I can't make any special moves. If I play tank, then I feel like I have to carry, even though my other tank is Ball in the back line, dying to Reaper constantly. I don't know what he's doing. Please help me. Anyways, there are a few nitpicks that I could make about Overwatch 2, but it is beta. But one of the things I do want to bring up is the sound. A lot of guns had their sounds changed, or I don't know what word you would want to use. Soldier and Ana specifically. Ana's gun sounds so weird to shoot. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. In fact, I don't even want to play Ana because of that, and also because Ana just doesn't feel like she heals as much anymore. I don't know, maybe that's just me. She just feels kind of weak. But that's just a general feel of it. Another thing is that it's really laggy. I don't know if it's just me, but when I play Overwatch 1, I never have any lag. But when I play Overwatch 2, there always seems to be some sort of lag, and it gets really frustrating. And I don't know. That's just me. The last thing I want to pick about is that there's almost too much mobility in the game with all these new healers and all these new changes. People that don't have mobility, say Zen, kind of feel like a different character from it feels like you're playing Overwatch 1 Zen in Overwatch 2, and that's just not a good feeling. I mean, there are some other characters that just don't have the mobility. I mean, you look at Sojourn or you look at the new Mercy change. I mean, they're introducing all this different mobility into the game, and it just, some of these characters feel left behind, and I hope that changes as the beta moves on. And that's not to say that no mobility for some of these characters shouldn't, or the lack of mobility on some of these characters should change, because I think that having mobility, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good or that it's bad. But I do think that when they move towards this more mobility, more faster pace, some of these heroes are going to be kind of left behind, and they're going to feel weird overall, especially in the future. But I guess that's just my opinion and my kind of prediction on it. So yeah, that's what I think about Overwatch 2. Is it fun? Yes. Yes, it is fun. Are you missing out if you're not in it? Not really. I'll be honest, you're not really missing out. I mean, yeah, it's a fun experience, but is it that much more fun than Overwatch 1 right now? In my opinion, no. I think it is more fun, but I don't think it's like the greatest thing in the world. I think if you're missing out on the beta, you're not really missing out, if you're catching my drift. So tell me what you think below. Do you think Overwatch 2 is more fun than Overwatch 1 if you've played it? Does it look more fun? Yeah, what's your thoughts? What's your comments? What's your complaints? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And check out for my other content. Peace out.